All right. Hello, Race Brain Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan, joined by Jack Bauer, joined by Bracken Crocker. Bracken has the worst fantasy football team of all time. It might be but how bad his team is almost beat Jack's team.
Very true. Yeah. And I think you have the all injured team, Bracken. How many people on with the concussion, some knee injury on IR? You have like 7 or 8 guys on there right now.
All but one.
All but one.
He's still got like backup tight ends though. He's got injured tight ends on his bench.
Tight end you.
Can't.
I mean, your roster on paper pre-injury is fantastic, but no luck this year.
So we have a history of talking hygiene on this podcast, and I finished up a workout as usual right before this. I blasted off into the shower, and I tried to get real quick and aggressive with my movements, Jack. And I went like this. I had some facial scrub. I went like this, and my nail caught my nostril as I went by. Now I have a little cut here, like a paper cut, but from a nail.
Battle wound.
A shower injury.
It's tough. That's tough.
That's rough. Worst shower injury you've ever had?
No, come on. I can play through this.
Today, we are going to be talking about Hyrox. This is kind of like, I wouldn't call this an official preview to the season. This is kind of a preview to the preview because we have the first major coming up in about 3 weekends. Not this weekend, not next weekend, the following weekend in Amsterdam. But the North American season is going to kick off in Toronto in 2 weekends. This weekend, the European season kicks off in Stuttgart. So a lot of athletes who we've seen in the past are going to start racing again, trying to improve their standing for this first major of the season, which is, the first week of the season. That's great how they've really kind of structured things. Like first thing off the bat, championship race. This would be like if you had the best record in the preseason and you get a bid to the playoffs. That's what we got going on in Amsterdam.
I like
Doesn't
that.
Philly always have a good preseason record? Eagles? But they always go 4-0 every year.
They make the playoffs every year, dude.
Who is that who hadn't lost a preseason game in like 12 games?
I thought it was the Eagles, but maybe
I'm not sure.
Rounds or something
like that. I don't know.
Just killing it.
So we are going to talk about some of our favorite storylines that we are projecting out. This could be even a crystal ball episode. Some things that we are predicting to have happen. We'll have to review our crystal ball that we did in the beginning of the year and see how
we nailed
that
it.
did. Yeah. I said Deca was going to crush in Europe, but they just decided like really not to even do anything in Europe. So that might not happen.
They're coming over.
Yeah, you have people coming over. You had events in Spain and the UK and one in Australia, like slow but steady.
So we do have the roster for the Deca Fit World Championship for Deca Fit. We're going to hold off on talking about that too much today because we want to see how everything shakes out with the strong and the mile. And we just have a long time until that race is still like 13 weeks from now. So we don't want to get too carried away with that. But
Hyrox time.
It's Hyrox time. It's Hyrox time. We've waited long enough. So how do we want to start this thing? Wheel of names? Fire off some crystal ball takes?
Absolutely.
Let's see how this all goes.
I bet I get first pick and
then you're going to blow it.
Something breaks in my setup before I get to go.
It's just how things are kind of working for you. Hurts. We're not moving BJ? Anything.
Big Jack.
Oh, Big Jack.
Baby. Here we go.
There we go.
Yes.
And that is Big Jack with the first.
Leading with the BJ.
Yep.
And then so you gets to pop off second. It looks like BK. Nostril injury and everything. We're going to be all right. We're going to be all right here. All right, Jack, what are you looking forward to for Hyrox season?
I think that you're going to see very few athletes turn down an Elite 15 spot just because of how scarce it is these days. Even though there is going to be a race in Hong Kong, a lot of travel for athletes, it's so hard to get into the Elite 15. And depending on where you live, you might not even have the opportunity to get those fast marks. I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see the best of the best people traveling a lot.
I like it. I think that's true. I wonder how far do you think this will roll down? I'm going to share this tab now. And we'll see how far this first one is going to roll down. So this is on the women's end. All I would imagine we're going to see everybody who is auto qualified head there with Lauren, Meg, Vivian, Viola, and Linda.
Assuming health, yes.
Assuming health.
Yeah.
That's the thing. How far down do you think this goes?
Where's this first event for the listeners?
Amsterdam.
So
Europe.
So virtually everybody except Joanna and maybe Chris Rogloski.
I think Jess Towell lives in just Toll
UAE.
lives in she lives in Dubai. It's not really
Not
close.
bad.
That's true. I didn't see the flag closely enough. Camilla's definitely going.
Camilla's
if
going.
it's in Europe.
Camilla's
yeah.
going.
I'm just
Rebecca
saying that she's
Mason.
not there.
Yeah.
Adding her to that list.
I mean, this whole list should probably show up.
Minimum of 13, probably all 14 or 15. If you're Chris Rogloski, she just ended up doing a trail race recently, I thought. And
She's
got
done everything recently.
golden ticket back to Barclays or something like that. So she's healthy again, and it's only going to get harder to qualify. It's like, if you have your shot right here, do it.
Yeah, I don't see it rolling down. Like if Jess Petro gets a roll down at 19, I would be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you really think two German athletes and a UK athlete, they're not going to turn it down if it's on European soil.
There's only hope if there's injury or
Mhm.
someone is coming off injury and they're healthy, but they don't have the fitness to do it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Just not
even
ready.
in that case, I think they Magita up and show up.
Right. Like say, who could that, like that's a Michaela, right? Like
Yep.
her health is generally in question. So we aren't sure. Rebecca Mason, same thing. She was injured last time we heard much from her from Worlds having to drop out. Like maybe she isn't ready yet and isn't willing to kind of put herself out there that way. Where in previous years, this would roll down to 25, 30
Yeah.
on the women's end. They didn't even fill the North American Championships 2 years ago when it was
14
in
once, right?
Chicago.
Yeah. But that was because they didn't allow, if you were 31st, you just didn't exist, basically.
But the
But they
fact
still
that even got
they
to
couldn't even
30,
get right. They could
That's
only
true.
13 people out of 30 accepted, which is crazy, which would never happen now.
That's
Yeah.
a bygone era.
The only one that I could see not doing it, maybe Joanna. Just that's a long flight from
It's a
Australia.
haul.
And she's got Hong Kong coming up, and she's ready. Look at those times that she's done recently. I think that she might try to peak at Hong Kong.
I think that Australia has to operate under a different set of rules than the rest of us. They're already so used to traveling for everything important anyways. Like, look at James Kelly. Did anyone travel more than that man?
Tom Hogan, maybe.
He
but
moved.
not much. Yeah.
JK literally moved to Europe for a season. Like craziness.
You just got to operate differently when you live on an island in the middle of nowhere.
You might not have
And-
the opportunities.
Yeah, so I think more than anyone else, she will be there because like this is that shot. She's done it. She's done it with her people, but it's time to go do it now. And I think you'd want as many shots as possible. I agree with what you're saying, Jack, but I think it's that's even more imperative that she shows up.
That's the thing, Hong Kong, you don't really know. Like that's when there will be roll downs. And you know, if the top 3 people who qualify here at Amsterdam don't show up to Hong Kong because they don't have to, it's a roll of the dice, because then after that, it's only going to get less competitive as it goes on. Like this race is going to be the most competitive race of the year.
But realistically, it's not like you just hop on a train and go to Hong Kong from Australia. That's still a bunch of travel.
True, for
Yeah.
sure.
Southern hemisphere to northern. That's a lot.
So if she can punch her ticket now, she takes it. And if I'm her, looking at the times, why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I finish top 3 here?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how she does in big competitions, right? There's going to be a learning curve, of course. We can't expect her to come out and be on the podium, but she might be fighting for it.
Now I'm a believer because of where she's coming from. We have never seen anything about Australian races to make us think that they can't come up and do well. Their times seem like American times.
Didn't
it just
Lauren
seems
go down
legit
there?
to me.
Lauren Griffith went down there and Joanna beat her. Yeah, it looks like Brisbane. So she beat her by 23 seconds right there. We know how good Lauren Griffith is. So how
So
can
I know
you
what
say
you're
Joanna will
saying,
do well?
and you're the only one here who has any experience on the grid. But if I had to pick someone who is fresh and new to this, to come out and make a splash, I think John is my pick.
I mean, that's the clear pick just based off what she's been doing. But that was more what I was alluding to, just the
Right.
big race, getting on the line, like all the lights, how it's going to, like, she's not going to be racing just one other person, how she's been in Australia or nobody else.
Right.
She might be in 8th after
Correct.
sled push and going
that
backwards.
does matter.
Then
But
like,
it's
so
not like
that's
opted in Maastricht or someplace where you're like, well, we don't know what that time means.
no, for sure. I think these times, I mean, the Australian times are definitely fast. But just because there's been less races, that's usually what it boils down to. The less the equipment's beat up, the better those sleds are going to move, and they will get slower as time goes on. But she has done very fast times so far. So it's just going to be a matter of, how does it feel on the European course? How does it deal with travel? How does it do with, yes, being in the middle of the pack? She's a young athlete overall, I think.
Yep.
So
we're saying 13, maybe all 15. At a minimum, 13 of the top 15 women are likely going to go. Probably more.
yeah, I think a roll down to Alina is probably the furthest it'll go.
Yeah,
and like
only
Rebecca and
because
Alina will take those spots.
Yeah, because Rebecca Mason is injured, but Rebecca Nather likely will do it if she can.
They will take it, I would imagine, if they're healthy.
Yeah. So
Let's
let's
take a
see
look
the
at the
men's field.
dudes. Yeah. So dudes might have a bit of a longer, a bigger roll down. I wouldn't imagine Hunter's going to go. I could be wrong. Kent's not going. Palaio's not going. Rylan, who knows?
Rylan is. He posted it.
He's going to?
Yeah.
Nice. So, and then I would imagine Tomash, Wynn, Bo, Jake Dearden's definitely going to go. Voisin will go. Sadiq has to take this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So what are we looking at?
So close, yeah.
What are we looking at? 2? What'd I say? So
3, Hunter, Kent,
and Palaio.
Dylan's definitely going, you said?
Dylan's going.
Okay.
Dylan's going.
So 12 to 13 at a minimum.
And so these dudes would, like, if Tim might not go, Avron he's come over. He came to DC, so I would imagine he'll do this one. Yannick has to take it.
Well, if you're looking at Tim, his second mark is Stockholm, so that disappears beginning of December. He needs a fast time if he's going to get into a future one realistically, because he has a 2023 mark.
He's just got to be healthy.
Yeah.
He's just got to be healthy. What could happen is with Stuckert, if Tim is healthy, he could jump into this top 15. Graham Halliday's going to race. If he's healthy, he could jump into this top 15 if he's fit. So things like that could happen. If Eugenio, depending on what the Stuckert course, if Stuckert is a Cologne scenario and everybody in the whole race, you get 11th place and you run 57 flat, then this whole thing could be completely shaken up. But if you run Stuckert, you're probably doing it so that you do get into Amsterdam. And if you run faster, you're definitely going to take it. So yeah, 3 at most, I'm guessing. Womp womp. Oh man. So probably not 10.
Probably there's a chance. Yeah.
I'm going to be in Europe. I'm going to be over there. I'm going to Italy this week.
It's the wedding, right?
I'm going to bring my shoes.
Yeah.
Might as well. Is there a race you can pop into?
No, unless it's Amsterdam. So holding out
You'll
hope.
Find a way. Yeah.
Holding out hope. No, I like that. I think that's right. I think, the roll downs we'll see Hong Kong, and that'll be interesting, right? Like to see how you back up, how this statement gets backed up. Hong Kong's going to be the real test. If people Jake Dearden, he went to South Africa to race, right? And he had from what I understand, I don't know, but he does have like a Red Bull deal. So I think he gets to go. I think that he's going to have some more resources to get places. So someone like him will go. Right. Will a Bo Wills, will a win, right? Will they make that type of trek because it's closer to back home?
You've seen Jonathan Wynn head to the US to do the last chance qualifier. I wouldn't be surprised seeing these guys travel. Spots are limited.
To me, crazy. This strikes me as Spartan in 2013. Where people are starting to realize there is something here, and we might even be able to make a future out of this. Maybe not from this, but what comes from our notoriety here. I think you're going to see people throwing credit cards down and traveling, whether they can afford it or not. I don't know how you pass it up.
When I was kind of back and forth on the idea, thinking it might roll down to me, because there could be 10 people that pass at that point, but who knows, again, with the Stucker course. But that was a lot of the advice. Like, hey, this is like a business. You should go to up your standing here. And like, that was a lot of the advice that I was getting. I was just kind of like, that shit sounds stupid. I'm not trying to go there. Chicago's gonna be way more fun.
I mean, it's the reason I'm sitting here today. It's because I uprooted my life and chased something that didn't matter to anyone but this community. And now it became my life.
Yeah.
Like if I don't move out to Colorado and go after this thing, I'm not on your podcast today.
You're teaching.
I'm still teaching.
Who on this list is most likely to be on a niche endurance sport podcast in 10 years, would you say?
I could see
Dylan. JK.
Both of us say Dylan. Yeah.
Dylan, yeah. But you don't know what comes from it, but you know what comes from not going after it, which is nothing.
Right.
And I don't think we can ever underestimate humans' ability to crave success and attention. You know, we've all done it. There's too much that this sport's going to be bigger than Spartan. There's too much on the line to not go after it.
BK, what do you got as a take? Crystal ball.
My crystal ball is that the Elite 15 this year has more people out of it that could go top 5 than in it.
Huh.
I think the system is set up now that the gate is set to the wrong size.
It's high.
Like it's going to let shapes in that are the wrong shapes. Like we're trying to cram a star through the triangle hole, and I think it's going to be too hard. It's officially past that point where you can just get in based on being good. You have to be able to pop a fast time, and the differentiator between a fast time and a championship performance is very large in this sport. And so I believe that it's actually going to be easier to make the podium this year at Worlds if you make it in than it's ever been in the past.
I mean, we sort of saw that before where, Rich gets a roll down like some other athletes and they're outside the top 15 and they finish 7th, 8th or whatever. So there are plenty of athletes that's been proven that if they get the chance, it's not going to go how the seeds go at the race.
Yeah.
This system's definitely better than it was 2 years ago where it was just on time. Right. So that's like one thing that is worth noting, that, and they've had to have done it twice. Right. But it is going to be extremely hard for people who are
your position
down this list. Yeah. Right. Like there's 1 or 2 shots. And we're going to see the same kind of people racing over and over because of the way it's all set up. I think it'll be easier to qualify for Worlds. They're going to get the right people at Worlds, like top 3 who were there last year. You don't
accidentally get the podium at a race at a major.
But you can get like 9th
later on.
And that's what I'm saying. Once you're in the club, you're in right now. And if you just do them all, you're going to get to Worlds.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they might not get the best field.
Correct.
But they'll get the top 3.
The best 3 to 5 will probably be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the best 5 to 15 probably won't.
Yeah. That's almost, like if it plays out how we've been talking and you can get 12th place in Scotland and go, like you could suck. You could get like 3 people could drop out. You just finish, you've run 67. Like I could have gotten in from that shitbag race that I ran in Vienna, just because I was there. Like, and that's a lot. That's how a lot of athletes kind of qualified for Worlds. They just were at the races, and that could happen even more so this year just by being here. And I guess that's what they want. But
this is what happens when sports grow. This is what happens in every major sport. There's part of the storyline is who didn't make it that should be. There are teams that limp into the playoffs and don't belong there and get bounced right away. And these teams on the outside, like I'm hot right now and we didn't make it. This is what happens when sports grow. The people who were the best don't always get along each season into that next round. It doesn't make it better. It just is the nature of growth in a sport. But when we personally know the people who get caught in the wash, it sucks.
It does. It does. Whatever. Talking about me? I'm talking about it.
No, you're going to double down on DECA. You're going to be so good at DECA next year.
I'm just going in on DECA. I'm starting my DECA prep for next season. This season. What city is the leader for DECA next year.
Where's the most
For
remote
Worlds?
place they've ever gone?
Yeah, where's like Sioux Falls?
I don't know.
Sioux Falls.
Or Sioux Falls 2 poppin'?
Okay, like Fargo, Seward, Alaska.
Winnipeg.
Just take it to Canada in December. And just be like, it's great, it's beautiful. And, I'm not sure. All right, I'm up. So I think this year we will see up and comers make a splash, even though it is going to be maybe not in. I'm actually not sure because of the system that is set up, it is going to be hard for up and comers. But where we are in terms of progress and exposure, like now we're going, like we saw athletes who came in and tried it maybe last year, right? Those athletes, they might stick to it and they might be able to have some breakout performances where they do turn some heads. Like I said, it's going to be hard for them to get into these championships, but there's going to be people who we actually see who are legitimate in this sport. Already mentioned Jake Dearden, right? Like he was someone that's like kind of like I didn't know if he was good or not. He had like a bunch of social media followers, and I didn't know what that really meant. But he ran like 58 something in New York on like a really crazy course, 58.12, and then running 56
Sub
high.
57, yeah.
You know, if you're under 57, like yeah, the course could be fast, whatever. His first time in Africa, so I'm sure that was new equipment. But you run under 57, like you're rolling, right? You're good.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see more athletes like that who have tried, and because there is going to be more eyeballs in the sport this year, and just where we are in progression of the sport, younger athletes are going to show up this year.
And once you see all this popularity, like it seems like everybody who's in this functional fitness space or a larger endurance athlete knows about Hyrox at this point and sees you can make some actual money doing this. Didn't we just see some woman run like a 28 something for a run split? She's a 407 1500 runner.
She's she ran 112 and a half. That was open though.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, you're seeing some serious talent try this.
Yep.
And she puts on a little bulk and works on some of these movements. She could do some damage right there. And I think there are going to be a lot of parallels, just like OCR, where every single year you see 2 to 3 new names who just emerge. We remember that year that Emma Cook Clark came out, and then Johnny Luna Lima kind of had a breakthrough. Lars Arnes, and every single year you have a few new people, and we saw Joanna this year already. Jake Dearden could be your person, but I think that trend is going to continue until you just reach a point where some athletes retire or just stop competing. Some of them just might not have the drive anymore, and then a new person takes their spot. You'll still have a lot of the same people at the top, but it's that cycle of having a couple new people every single year who just emerge, and you're like, where were you before? That's always going to continue because we've seen it in other sports.
I agree with that. And I think unlike OCR, where you'd have Lars dip in and out, or Johnny dip in and out and try other series and things like that, Hyrox is the ultimate form of what we're doing. Like a lot of people don't aspire to be OCR runners. They try it and they're like, I think I'm gonna go after mountain running next year. There's not another thing to Hyrox.
Yeah.
Right. Unless you can do CrossFit.
Which
like,
you can't.
You're right.
Maybe like Miram, but like anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it's in that's its own sport as well. Like you said, if you can do one, you probably can't do the other super well, unless you're an absolute freak. So
she can do both.
There's too much available in this space for people to want to turn away. Like this is a lifestyle of training. Who wants to train for OCR outside of like obsessed people? It's not better than training for mountain racing if you love mountain races. This is the best form of training for like a whole lot of athletes, and they love it and they want to. This makes you look better, feel better. OCR doesn't necessarily do all those things for you. And so
it's hard to watch. It's easier to watch, easier to get exposure.
Yeah.
It's easier to like create content around
the gym
Hyrox.
cells.
Yeah.
This is the first version of our sport that captured you can train for this in a gym, in a CrossFit box. And so like we saw JK and we saw Palaio. Like they made the leap. I think we see like 2 or 3 people for each one of them this year.
Meg did the year before.
Yeah. Well, we were seeing 1 to 2. I think Rich is right. You see like, I think there's gonna be like 4 or 5 guys this year who all turn out to be just like that guy.
Yeah.
Where it's like in the early stages of this, the athletes who had some experience, who might be older, who may have done other things, can come in and do well. Now it's going to be like younger athletes are going to start to train for this.
Mhm.
Hunter's 35.
Not young.
David, you're like 38. Kent 38. Like people are getting older.
Right. A lot of these guys are in their 30s.
Joffrey's like 42 or something.
Yeah.
Jezebel's up there. So yeah.
So last year on the men's side, I think there were 3 athletes who we've never seen in a world championship race at all. It was Colin, Bo, and Pelayo. On the women's side, it was more. I think there was 7 or 8.
There
So
were
it
a
was-
lot. Yeah.
So Camilla, Yana, Lauren Griffith. I think Elena did qualify the year before. Maria Fetchik, Zara, Amy Bevilacqua, Kate Davey. So there was 7. What's our over under men new names in the world championship?
2.5.
Oh, I'm gonna go 4.
4.
Wow.
Yeah. I think Dearden will be there. I think now I'm gonna blank.
Sadiq.
Sadiq will be there. And then just give me 2 more people that are already on the list and are about
Gabe
to prove
Heck.
us.
It could be Rylan, right?
Yeah. Oh, he
Right.
hasn't competed at Worlds. That okay. Yeah.
No. So yeah, between
My number's too low. Yeah.
maybe. I mean, I think Dearden will go
3.5.
to Hong Kong
Yeah.
and make it there. Sadiq potentially. And then after that, we're looking at Eugenio, Harry Thompson. Gabe. This guy Tom Rogers. I don't know if he'll have an opportunity necessarily. I don't know. I think 2.5 is a good number.
Okay.
If one of those 3, there's 3 guys that we mentioned that's like you very well could.
Yeah.
But if one of those don't, like if Rylan isn't healthy, like and doesn't run fast, like his times are gone.
And,
His times are gone
there's,
like now.
and there's always a situation where, Tim got hurt or can't do the race. There's something that happened at the start line often. So that there's a shoe-in spot for someone.
2.5. I like it. What about the women?
It's not going to be 7 again.
That's the thing, right? Those are 7 new athletes who now
Some of them are going to stick around.
they can get better.
Yeah.
They could spring forward even more. 2 flat.
2 flat. I know that's not smart number to put on it if you are the odds maker, but I'm still saying 2 because I'm not
Push.
a punk.
I mean, we could see in theory, Christy O'Connell, who, like I mentioned, she has a 63, 64 or something like that. She runs that again. She's in at the moment. Joanna, I think we're definitely going to see her get in. I'll go 2.5 again. I think a lot of these women who are currently in there, those new 7 from last year, I think at least half of them are sticking around. But you also have like a Morgan Schultz who could do some damage if she wants to do it. And I think there are several.
I think that in the top 15 right now, there's 3 and there's 4. There's Joanna, Sika Arning, Jade Skillen, and Jess Toll. So maybe one of those, can bump some people. And then outside of that, it's Jess Petro. I could definitely see her making moves. This Laura Valgreen, she could potentially take a jump.
Mm-hmm.
Lucy Proctor is a name in the UK. She's a young athlete. She's kind of like a Jake Dearden type on the women's end. Could definitely springboard. Yeah, and then Morgan, like absolutely. Like Morgan could definitely find herself in contention in a race in Vegas and being able to get top 5 there.
Yep.
I don't like my number anymore.
Yeah.
After hearing you talk.
There's names and like these athletes who are in there last year, those 7, they could either springboard forward or the opportunities that they were able to seize, and it could just be a roll of the dice between those and the athletes who are just outside of it.
I still think there's a noticeable gap at the top, and probably the top 4 or 5 are locks. And then you have a couple where you just know Michaela, if she wants to, or if she's healthy, she should get in there. So I would say there are probably like 6 to 8 very likely locks, but there's a whole lot of variability in the second half of that top 15.
3.5.
Fine with that. Yeah. 2.5, 3.5. One of those. I'd probably go with mine.
You're going 2.5 on the women.
2.5 on both. 2.5 on both. Yeah.
Oh,
All
wow.
right. Can I
Taking
restate?
the over.
4 on both.
4 on both.
Yeah, I'm a believer
Jeez.
suddenly.
Bracken's blowing up.
4 on both.
Swinging for the fences already.
Yep. Well, we know how your predictions have gone this year. So.
Really well.
Yeah.
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 Just tight ends on the bench.
I'm a fan
tight
of
ends
them.
to fill in other tight ends. I don't know, man. On the dude side, it would be hard. And there may be, what if Nick Bear's a beast? What if he comes out?
What do you think he's running in his debut? Crystal ball, that we could save that for later, right?
He's pretty fit. I don't know.
62
low, 61 mid.
Yeah. How serious is he going in on this?
Pretty serious.
I just don't know what are his functional fitness movements, because he can run, he can lift heavy, but like there's a difference between being able to do 100 wall balls and having a really good deadlift and being a fast runner, for instance.
Haven't seen his wall balls, right? So he could bleed time there. Where I'd be concerned for him is the burpee broad jumps. He's just a big body, and he can hammer the sleds and the ski, and he runs pretty well. So like that point of the race might be hard, but
the ability to do those things well is a worry as well, because sometimes you do them well, and then you get to the row and you're toast.
Yeah, and he's a Texas guy, so I'm assuming Dallas or Houston's when he's making his debut.
Dallas.
Okay.
So you could do Dallas and then pop into, if it goes well, pop into Anaheim, get a Vegas qualifier.
Either way,
it's great for the sport.
Great for the sport.
This
isn't like Lance Armstrong.
I was going to say I'd rather have him than Lance.
Yeah, this is someone who's actively training and racing and
could be
seems
good at
like
it.
A good fit for this.
Yeah, huge following.
And isn't dismissive of the sport, really. I'm not saying Lance was, but we've had a bunch of people come over and be like, this isn't a real sport, but Joe paid me, or I'll do it to prove you guys wrong. But he seems to really want to do this for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good challenge. Back around.
Crystal
ball.
I think we're going to see our first positive drug test this year.
Ooh.
It's so tough.
Failed IQ test?
Well, here's my reasoning. I think it's so tough to get into these majors that when's the roll down system end? Or the declaration window within 2 weeks or so that you have to accept it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say it's within 2 weeks and then someone backs out and you're like right on the fringe, and suddenly an opportunity presents it to yourself, and you took something because you want to get into the top 15 and didn't think you were going to test. I feel like someone might slip up and be like, maybe they won't test me when I'm there. I could just see it happening.
Yeah, who's it going to be? Fucking stupid.
I'm not
name names.
I can see it happening though.
But I mean, yeah, maybe they're on the edge, right? They're like they're coming off of something and thinking that they have an extra month, and they're like, it could be either way. If they even did get tested, it's like maybe I would be fine. Maybe.
And you're not guaranteed to be tested.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like how many would they test? 3, 5 at the event? 1? Like we don't know those numbers. They're not doing all 15.
No,
as far as I'm aware.
I don't know if they did make a statement. I was under the assumption that it was the world qualifiers, the top 3, or whatever it ended up being. But I don't know. And I think they did get a bunch of paperwork to sign to like kind of go through. So they're making it a little bit more legitimate this year. Last year, I think they were just kind of like, drug test.
Yeah.
Well, we're doing that.
Sure. Whatever
but
that
it seems
is.
like they're looking into it a little bit more and making it a little bit more serious this year. But you'd have to be really dumb, dude. They tell you when they're going to test you.
I know that, but I'm saying if you are unprepared and you're like, I'm not going to get into this race anyway, and then suddenly the opportunity is there, and you're like, all right, it's like an 80% chance I won't get tested. Like, here's my chance.
BK,
I can see it happening.
What do you think?
Well, are you going to ship it ahead, or are you going to carry your Wizinator with you to Hong Kong? What are you doing?
Think you pick one up out there?
I bet you could, but it's not going to look right.
Skin tones will be all messed up.
Yeah. It's about the details. It's the little things.
That's why you're you. What do you think? Do you think people and this is a sport where athletes, it might not be that sophisticated, truly, right? It might just be taking whatever they can get their hands on.
It's gym bro culture.
Okay.
Or just taking something that they might not even know.
Rich, how many times during CrossFit regionals do we see athletes testing positive? Like all the time.
But they're like they're like from South America and Africa. Like North American athletes almost never. Like Ricky popped, he's not that smart. Like straight up. Like he just doesn't make smart decisions. And but it's always South Africa and it's the
fringe athletes often. And
it's athletes in areas where they can get it easier, and it's like over the counter and shit.
There's cheating and there's ignorance. and we never really know what it is because they all use the same excuses. But tainted supplements exist. There are companies that just don't care, some that skirt the boundaries, some that cross-contaminate, and some that have been proven to actually be spiking their stuff to give you better performance
damn,
so
this
that
shit
you
works.
buy it. So like all three have been proven to exist. The tainted supplement excuse exists for a reason because it's really plausible. It's been proven. And for that alone, people are going to test positive. Like I could test positive because I come in and it turns out that the creatine I was taking is cross contaminated, and no one's ever going to believe me if I say, "Oh, look, it was a tainted supplement." Because
Burrito.
right. So like it can happen. So I'm with Jack. I believe someone will test positive,
All right.
and we
There we
won't
go.
know anymore whether it's cheating or ignorance.
And that could absolutely be a thing, right? There's going to be a lot of companies who are looking to get into this space who will
Yep.
do things that are nefarious and will reach out to athletes who might have a platform and might not explain what their product is or might not even know, right? They might not even know what the WADA guidelines are. The actual manufacturers and distributors of this might not know that their shit will make people fail a drug test, and they'll just give them to people either for free or they'll pay them to promote it, and they'll just be taking it. And then that is plausible.
Didn't
That is for
Spartan
sure.
Race at the finish line of races, they offered IV treatment, which is against water rules. At their own races, they offered
They
this for
offered
years.
booster IVs the day before Breckenridge in one of their sponsor tents, which is
Nice.
illegal to do. So like, yeah, this stuff happens. Also, you said it's ignorance if you get caught, pure ignorance, which it is. But if you're intelligently doping, it's also predicated upon the belief that you're getting in your system what you think you're getting in your system. So if you think your glow life is like 3 weeks and what you're getting in your supplement is not what they say is what you're getting, your glow life might be 4 weeks. Like that glow window changes depending on how much you're ingesting, right?
Yeah, if you look at FDA labels, when it says whatever has 30 grams of carbs in it, for instance, that can be plus or minus 20%. That's the allowable limit. Whatever supplement you might be taking, if it's FDA approved, can also be within 20% plus or minus, and that could really affect things.
And what do we just see in the ultra world? Megan and David Roche just got dragged over the coals because of Spring Energy. They had their own flavor and proprietary version, the Roche preferred Spring Energy gel, and it had like what, a third of the carbs it
It's way
claimed to
lower.
have, or like 10% of the carbs it claimed to have, because something in manufacturing got screwed up. Like if it can happen there, it can happen anywhere. And Spring Energy is by all accounts an above the board company who's trying to do things naturally and holistically and doing it all right. So that happens. Like the cheaters get it wrong too. You might be cheating intelligently and not be taking in what you think you're taking in or in the amount you think you're taking in. You might cut out your dirty stuff and your clean stuff is actually tainted. So yes, it usually is an IQ test, but part of that IQ test is making sure you're sourcing things correctly. And I feel like I'm helping people cheat right now and I'm tending to do that. But all this to say, yes, I believe someone tests positive this year. There's too many athletes in the pool now for someone not to get it wrong.
And if it's a worldwide sport, if you're some company and you're throwing money at some athlete and it's like, oh, wait, I can make money off of this. I'll take this. Sure. I'll promote it. And you don't do your due diligence. It could easily happen.
Yeah, no, I think that it is. I think we talked about this. I think on previous episodes, like would they release it? Would they eat it?
Exactly.
Okay,
I didn't say that there's going to be a reported positive test. I said there will be a positive test.
Oh man, you're gonna get the claim. It's gonna be like, nope, someone failed. We just didn't hear it.
Are they even testing it?
Yeah,
there's the difference between collecting samples and testing it.
For sure, right?
Good point.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that
was
absolutely
Spartan's
true.
Rumor for years, right?
They
Didn't even send it off for testing.
Some guy with a bunch of cups of pee somewhere.
Throw it into the Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one. And like I think it would be good for the sport if that does happen, just like for the legitimacy of it. Like this year would be a good year for something like that to happen.
We'd be the exception to the rule in sports if we didn't have one. Like, are you even a real sport yet if people aren't cheating? I know it's my tired old argument, but like, what sports are we made up of?
All the dirty ones.
Where do we come from?
Well,
right. So would people stop now?
No.
So they're going to get caught.
All right, BK. What else you got?
I think this year we are going to see the same drop off at the very top that we saw last year, but with different people. While we started with saying some of those people that made that leap next year, like they're going to cement themselves and they're the next level. I think on each podium, we're going to see someone drop off that we didn't expect to see drop off. Like who had Hunter not making the podium at Worlds on their bingo card?
Yeah.
We're
Right.
going to see that
Second time.
same thing because the young, fresh crowd, like the Rylands of the world, screw things up for the vets. And it's going to happen again. You have to get it so much more right the older you get. And the young kids don't.
Right.
I agree with this fully.
So like JK would be the example, right? Like who we're talking about from last year. There was someone up there who played spoiler for that case. Like Hunter ended up 5th, I believe, but you know,
Malio got him.
he was going backwards.
Yeah.
But there was someone there to clean it up.
Like who was the podium the year before? Men's side.
It was
Hunter, Toby edged out Kent. So it was Hunter, Alex, Toby, right?
Yep.
Right. So we
No,
had
women's,
2
it
of the
was-
3 not return.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing happens this year.
Who was the year before for women? It was Meg, Lauren, Meg,
Lauren,
and Vivian
Meg,
got
and
4th.
it was Bella McFarlane.
Bella
McFarlane.
They're proof right there. It's come out of nowhere.
Right.
I think it continues this year.
I mean, on the women's end.
1 of 3 won't make it on women's end. 2 of 3 won't on the men's. That's my prediction.
Vivian could close the gap closer to what she's been. I mean, she's only going to get better. She's young. She's still getting better at running.
I'm not saying it's Vivian who's out.
Right.
I'm saying at least one of those 3. It's just too hard to nail it year in and year out.
So you said 2 of 3
But
men will not make it. You think Alex is the only one who's a safe bet?
I'm not picking a name. I don't have that big of a crystal ball.
I feel like he would be. He doesn't screw it up. Like he's always second place.
Hunter never
now he
screwed
can
it up.
win.
Well,
I
Hunter
know, but
Hunter did
once.
Hunter did fall off of
Yeah.
the podium before.
Twice. So yeah.
But
True
yeah,
choice.
like JK would be a hard one to pick because he, again, young and ascending.
And what if Sandy figured it out? Yeah.
What if he didn't?
He could be that person that goes on a tear and runs 49 like every race for the next 2 years, or the person who that turned out to be the zenith of their career. We just don't know.
He's also not young. He's like, I think he's my age.
And he trains hard.
Yeah. So, okay. Odds are in your favor. On the women's end, it'd be hard to not take that top 3, though, depending on how Joanna shakes out. But I don't think Vivian.
I mean, Linda was racing really well all year. So I think Megan, Lauren are safe bets, but Vivian,
long season.
That
Linda,
third spot, long
yeah,
season.
a
lot can
Joanna,
happen.
yeah,
That's like one of my favorite bets. I don't gamble much when I do. It's very little, but I will just take season total unders for like individual players. If everybody gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
One time I was just being spiteful. I took everyone's like top pick, like their best player, and just like faded them on all my picks. I was like Tyreek Hill receiving yards under. I don't have him and root against them. So I did this whole thing. I won all those bets, but got last in fantasy. So
you knew, but you didn't know. Yeah,
the universe works in mysterious.
But you got
ways.
money, so.
That was like fucking like $4.
10 cents.
Cents down. Yeah, I gamble like you, Jack.
Huge money. Well, I don't. So
yeah, exactly. All right, I'm up. No world records this year.
Whoa!
No world records.
I don't know about that. I think the women's field you're going to see multiple world records.
Multi.
You don't think Meg's going to be fitter than she was last year? Lauren's going to want to reclaim her spot on the top. It's very course dependent. Absolutely course dependent. And yeah,
course dependent. It depends on what they do. I guess it depends on what they do with these grids, right? Mm-hmm. But what the courses we saw last year, like if we don't get another Stockholm, no one's going to run 53, like 52, I don't think, right? Like there's just like a time set on the men's side on a super goofy course that is just like not going to be touched.
Rylan might set it in Amsterdam.
Rather,
This seems to be what he does. He takes time off and then he breaks a world record.
then he goes crazy.
Not fit. Time to destroy. Yeah.
This might be my last one for a while, so I'm going to hit a world record.
I don't know. It just seems like it's. I mean, I could definitely be wrong, but if there's going to be a season where a world record doesn't get set,
I
like,
mean,
are
we're in the
we-
world of super shoes and a world record getting set in virtually every single event in track and field these days, like multiple per season.
Not every
It
year.
should happen here. We're a young sport.
1 year there's not going to be.
I see both sides because it seems like the sport's too young not to have it set. Yet the marathon record got set and held for 2 years, 3 years,
Kiptum.
with advancements in shoes happening. How long was Eliud's before Kiptum got it?
Probably a few years, if we're not counting the 159 project.
Yeah, and the shoes kept happening.
Yeah.
So it
But
does
half
have
marathon kept going down and stuff. So
Yeah, and I think we're closer to half marathon than marathon in our sport in terms of frequency of the top dog is doing it. So I think that both records should get broken this year based on the sport getting better. The problem is the person who set the men's record has to get a course like that.
It's just that these courses are so different and there's no predicting. Like, you can't go to Berlin and be like, this will be fast. I know it will. I'm prepared for Berlin. You show up that day, whoever's there gets the fastest course. Like, maybe if they're going to do Berlin again, I meant the Berlin, the marathon course. Now I'm saying
Mhm.
Berlin, the Hyrox course, just fast times in Berlin. But like, maybe they're like, hey, we're going to do this stupid 1-lap course again. And then athletes like Meg or Alex are like, cool, I'm going there to break the record.
yeah.
Mhm.
Because like these records that happen, they're on purpose. And
They
like
don't-
in
Do
Hyrox,
they have a world record bonus anymore?
maybe not through Hyrox, but maybe in
Okay.
like some.
Because I know
Brand
Hunter
deals.
he got something for it back in the day.
I think he just talked about it, gave it to himself.
Oh, okay.
It was Builder sponsored.
Builder sponsor.
Yeah.
But like that's what I mean. Like the world records, they do get set every year, but they are trying to break the world
Yeah.
record, and they're doing it with like wavelight and rabbits and fast courses that they can predict.
Can't
Hyrox,
do that in Hyrox.
you, can't,
Is
you show up and you're like, oh, it's the in and the out cross each other, and then you have to take 10 hairpin turns, and oh, this one, like the farmer's carry is in a different building. Like, it's like
Take an elevator to get there.
So,
Yeah.
I just think there's going to be a point where there's not. This could happen any season, but I'm just saying it now.
Yeah.
Like, that these majors aren't going to happen on goofy courses, and all the best athletes who can break their world record won't have fast courses to run them on.
So do you think that Berlin Hyrox might be like Berlin Marathon, where athletes are like, here's the fast one. If
That's
I
what I'm
want to set a
saying.
PR, like it's gonna be here.
If it is outside again at that hangar situation, whatever they did, then yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. Like, then it could be like, I'm going for the world record, and they can show up and try. But trying to do something like that when you have 4 majors and a world championship to prepare for the entire season, like world record attempts, don't make a ton of sense for the best athletes to do.
I mean, you've talked me into it. I'm on board.
Nice.
Yep.
The question is, will we get a goofy grid?
That's it.
Where
Right.
will there be a grid that is just short?
So advantageous.
Or it's
yeah.
just set up perfectly and the whole thing is rhythm running and it's like 990 meters per run and the transitions are a little short. That goofy grid is our saving grace, but I think the
Yes.
women's gets broken either way. Hunter's was a freak athlete on a freak course, and that's
Yeah.
really hard to get away from.
Right.
I don't think men's will be broken, but I think women could multiple times this season.
I mean, yeah, how fast could they go? Are they going to go 57:30?
Yeah, why not?
They could.
I mean, what's
I think
Hunter's
57's in
time?
the card. 53.
Okay.
Let me check.
But then seeing Ronk and JK run kind of close
And
to
Sandy
it.
be willing to do that also? Like he's gonna push the pace.
Well, JK was on a non-grid course
Mhm.
with new equipment.
So it's not out of the realm of the possibility that
Yeah.
it could.
53:22.
53:22.
What's the next fastest though?
So if we're
JK's like
10% slow,
54.
if we're about 10% slower than that, which is usually the ratio 9 to 10% for women versus men, that's about a 58:40, 58:30 high.
That's where they are right now.
So I guess maybe it is in line.
JK was, where is that goofy course? 54:03. So it's like 50 seconds.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Big
And I
deal.
mean, maybe those margins should close as the sport continues to grow.
But what
And, you
would
know,
what would Ronco or Sandy have done on that course?
on Cologne?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Alex ran 50 flat open weight, like
Yeah.
he would have gone crazy, but that's what I mean. But he didn't race
Correct.
the pro race because he did not have to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he will not have to this year either. Unless
Yeah,
it is like a
the
world
season
record.
schedule may prevent it from happening.
Mhm.
Yeah. But it's a long season. And if you punch your ticket early,
You could do
whatever
something
you
silly
want.
like
Yeah.
something silly like that. And maybe it is like a promo event, right? It's like, let's
Yeah.
get the best athletes in Cologne and we'll be like, hey, here's a world record attempt.
You know, Hyrox wants a world record.
Do you foresee Hyrox HQ being like, we're gonna set up the perfect course? We know this will go. If you want to run fast, do it here, and you get a few athletes out there to push each other. I don't think that they'd have a pacer or anything like that, but that would be an interesting strategy to do something like that.
If they had rabbits.
Yeah.
I
You have
mean,
someone skating at goal pace.
I think what would make more sense if a company outside of Hyrox did it, because why would what's Hyrox's incentive? Like they're going to get all the best they have all the best athletes. If it's like a company that is just trying to make a splash and they just do a Hyrox and they set it up at like a big an outdoor track and they make a big spectacle of it, everybody gets paid. Like let's see how fast these athletes can go. They just call it something different, but it is a Hyrox. Like that, I think would be more feasible than Hyrox being like, oh, let's do a world record event. Like because like why would they do that?
Do they want someone other than Hunter to be their world record holder?
Probably.
He's not
Would
young.
that be enticing enough for them?
Or do you want it? Would they want it to be like some, just good luck getting this? It's gonna stand the test of time type of mark.
I don't think anyone wants that.
Yeah, exactly.
I
But
could
you
see
say
HQ
both at this
saying
point,
like, Ronk, we want you to break his time.
Yeah.
We're gonna anchor down these carpets like you've never seen. We're gonna polish up the sled rails. We're gonna make it a perfect oval.
And clean those fans, clean the chains. This thing's gonna be spinning.
Your corners are gonna be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nine.
The rowers will turn on.
9 foot nine targets. Give them 3 inches or something.
Yeah, the sensor's connected to Glassman's clicker in the stands. Just like,
yeah.
Greg Glassman from CrossFit comes out. His music starts playing. All right, who else? What else? Jackie back around?
Yeah. I think that the lowest, or I guess highest, whatever way you want to look at it, roll down that we will see for an athlete to make world championship, 9th place.
So someone will get 9th place. Like
there are enough people ahead of them, and you're going to see so many people showing up to virtually all of these that the roll downs are going to happen. You're going to have a lot of the same people.
I'm gonna say chaos. The farthest available roll down in theory gets hit on the men's side.
Like
the 12?
The 12th. I'm gonna say 11 I'm gonna say 11. Double digits for sure is going to happen. I want chaos.
Rich, pull up the chart. Let's see when the times expire, basically. Because like if you're an athlete who has a Stockholm last year that's going away, you're gonna really need to pop a good race. That could affect things.
Are you talking men's or women?
Men.
So yeah, 11 or 12 is gonna happen. At worst 10.
That'd be sick.
I think it's going to be easier to get into the women's, there's going to be enough shakeup, but I feel like the men's, it's going to be really hard to have 2 sub 57s to get in there. So you're not going to see as much changing of the names throughout the year.
No, like, but the times don't even really matter. Right?
Oh, it's already not going to happen because 2 guys aren't going to the first one, right?
Well, that doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter.
So like say Ronk, Sandy, Dylan, they punch their ticket.
Okay.
And then all 3, and then the next one, whatever, Hunter goes to Hong Kong, JK goes, and Luke goes.
Yeah.
Plow is not going to be able to race outside.
Suppose they don't all have to be at each one, just the podium winners.
They all have to be at the last one, the next one. They all have to be, if all 9 show up at Glasgow, then that could happen.
But let's
They
not
don't have
forget
to
that
overcome all of them.
they increased prize money this year. It's harder to get in. Why not show up to all of them? You're going to get paid anyway.
It's just a long season.
I'm still taking the over on Jack's 9.
Which is I would have thought someone would have been like, nah, it's going to be like 5.
9 could happen in Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't think 12 will happen. I
Yeah.
think people will not do Scotland just because it's a lot. Like, I don't like if Hunter qualifies, like, will he go to Scotland? I mean, maybe, but
He went to Stockholm last year. He goes to Europe quite frequently, so I can see it happening.
maybe.
Probably won't go to Amsterdam.
But has he ever raced a race
full
where he didn't have to
season.
qualify? Yeah, he just qualifies and then goes to Worlds. Is what he has done.
Yeah.
But with his overseas sales with his product, he's trying to be big in those gyms over there. He may go over a couple times.
He could.
Yeah,
I mean,
and Las Vegas is pretty close to California, so I can't imagine he'll skip that one.
I'm guessing that's the first time we'll see him.
Really?
Do you think he's going to skip Amsterdam? Man's made for that town.
I don't know. He doesn't usually race early in the season like this.
Yeah.
I guess he raced early in Stockholm, but like
that was mid-December last year.
But
Right?
He did that
didn't
with
race.
Copenhagen 1 year too, right?
but he didn't race Chicago, which was
Weird.
No, he did like Barcelona at that 1 year.
when it was time based.
Time based. Okay.
And that was late in the year. That was after Gov Games.
Okay.
Um,
So Rich, you're going double digits. It sounds bad, but like on paper, it makes sense that it could happen.
I don't think so. I think I like your number. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to go 8.
Okay.
You can finish 8th and qualify. Because people are just not going to go. Like, whatever. If in APAC, if Gabe gets that roll down, he qualifies. We won't see him anywhere else. If like Sadiq qualifies, we might not see him like.
Why wouldn't you?
Because it's a shitload of travel and expensive. And like people have regular jobs. There's like 2 full-time athletes on this list.
What was the highest or lowest? I'll just say highest numerically spot that got a roll down last year.
Where they ended up finishing?
Yeah.
Well,
or like what got into Worlds? What was it? Megiddo? Like what was his roll down?
I think he was 8th.
He was 8th. Okay. So
maybe
9th could happen.
So maybe. But that was like after the fact, right? Like that wasn't like that was a strange scenario.
I know. But just saying there's precedence.
So you can finish it. I gotta get into this Glasgow race.
Yeah.
Just finish and just sit on 12th place and just wait.
Just show
And
up.
go 100 unbroken and punch that ticket.
Just be in last. Everyone else is gonna be dying and just chill. And then just like kick home.
Yeah. Past 3 people. That's a good strat. You should
celebrate.
Yourself.
Celebrate my ass off. Just
direct people the wrong way. Like, hey, we're going in this lap.
In and out.
Yeah. I'm gonna celebrate the hardest anyone's ever
Or
celebrated.
we could put the numbers on the wrong zones like they did in South Africa this week.
The old switcheroo.
Yeah.
I like that.
Zone 8 lunges. Zone 7 wall balls.
That's worse to me.
That just sucks because they paid for that inflatable and now it's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, what do? You just like I hope it was on the manufacturer side, so that it wasn't like on.
How
their
did no
end.
one see it?
What are you gonna do?
Paint it, duct tape.
Yeah.
Black electrical tape will do that.
I mean, for the first of, I mean, the way Hyrox thinks, right? They're so brand that, like, they probably like, no, we're not making this look bad. I'd rather it be wrong than look bad. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine that as it blew up, no one was like,
oh crap.
Someone probably did. Like, I'm not the one who's going to bring
not
this back.
one athlete entered that arena and was like, guys, why am I doing wall balls? Why does it say that? Not one athlete during their warm up just looked around. There's something bigger going on here.
I wouldn't have noticed. Jack probably would have noticed. I don't think I would have noticed.
I would have just
Jack
gone to lunges
it on
because
Google Earth.
on Google Earth
Beforehand, yeah.
Those live images. Yep.
Oh man.
All right, BK, you got something?
No.
You're done?
No, I'm tapped.
You're done?
Yeah.
I had something. Oh, this is more just
Wait. Over under Bracken running 0.5 races this year for Hyrox. This upcoming season.
Which
Pro.
kind of,
Not teams. Not teams.
Not teams.
You didn't say that.
I am not done answering or phrasing my question.
Yeah, ellipses in there.
Yep.
I'm
I'm going under. I don't think he's gonna do it.
gonna have to take the under.
I'm going under.
I'll take the under.
Oh,
I'm going over for everything today. Over.
Smart money.
Okay.
You're gonna lose that. Your own.
If I get
bet.
into a major, I'm running them all.
Oh yeah. Well, you
That's
need
my
2 races to
guarantee.
get into a major.
Quite the roll down we're gonna need.
I know a guy.
All right, this is more just overarching. I was thinking about this the other day. Christian, from the triathlon world, right? Can this be bigger than triathlon? And how will we know if it's bigger? Like, how will we know if this eclipses triathlon?
Triathlon's like a very wealthy sport, and you really need 3 different modalities. It's hard to find a pool oftentimes.
very
Anybody can
niche.
run, but you
Mhm.
need a very expensive bike. Like if you put us on a crappy bike, some 60-year-old guy with a really, really nice carbon frame bike could beat us.
Put me on a nice bike. Put me in with all the swim gear you got. That
Yeah.
6-year-old dude's giving me work.
I agree. But equipment does play a role. Here, you just find a gym, and a lot of these are based in the middle of a city where you have a big population base. I know that like the prestige of going to Kona, for instance, is a big allure for a lot of triathlon athletes or Ironman. But it costs money to get to Hawaii. It costs a bunch of money to get all this equipment.
To
I just
travel
feel
your
like
stuff, to bring your stuff to.
exactly. And I just feel like this is you show up. Yeah, I did some squats at the gym. I'm a strong runner. I've run a little bit around my block. Like it's much more accessible to the average person. And it's like the it thing right now. I can see it really growing. I don't know where triathlon stands at the moment, but I can't imagine this has a worse arc than triathlon currently.
You guys are high.
Go on.
You're on Quaaludes right now. This is unreal. This are we joking? Like, is this a real question? How will we know?
Not in the 2025 season, but eventually.
Okay,
5 years
I
from
will
now?
answer it with another question. Did CrossFit ever endanger triathlon for popularity?
CrossFit's not an event.
But did it though? And that's what I'm saying. Like they had entire gyms all around the world based around doing a community-based fitness thing, and they were never as big.
But it wasn't like you could all go and do CrossFit together in one location. Like you didn't go to a CrossFit starting line where everybody could go. And like the barrier to compete in CrossFit is high. It's very high. Where in Hyrox is very low.
Yeah, it's just too complicated. It's too complicated of a sport to ever capture decades of athletes' attentions. I truly believe that.
Bracken, triathlon participation in the US. So in 2017, there were 1.88 million participants in triathlon.
In the US?
In the US only.
Wow.
That is a lot.
Holy shit.
But 2023, what was the number? 1.36 million. They lost 500,000 in 6 years. I know that was over COVID and everything, but stuff has bounced back. Hyrox has taken off since then. Triathlon's not on the right trajectory.
So you're telling me
participation numbers
that a decade from now,
a lot of people,
Hyrox will still be around and more popular than it is currently?
That's what I'm asking.
Are we just too optimistic and forgetting what happened with OCR?
It's too complicated.
No, it's not. Jack just laid out all the reasons why it's not complicated.
Yeah.
Triathlon is too easy to understand. I swim my bike, I run. It's too simple. Everyone gets it. You can tell someone what you do. They understand it. They get it. You can train for decades and never max out. Whereas in Hyrox, people run into their ceiling so quickly because they just can't balance both. Or it's too complicated to train for a lot of people. There's too much. Equipment's imperative for a sport to be popular. It's imperative to need some sort of equipment, but not as much as Hyrox requires. I think that it's
triathlon requires way more.
It doesn't. You need to swim.
Expense?
It's more expensive.
I'm not saying expense. I'm saying how many.
I live in Colorado. Where am I going to go swimming? There's no ocean near me. I have to get a specific gym membership that has a pool.
And they all do that.
It's more the bike thing.
Yeah. People obsess over it in a good. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying my opinion is that you're high. It just can't do it. It's too complicated. They're going to have to change up the events eventually.
And they could.
They
could
never
do Hyrox half.
Why right. That's for whatever reason, it's simple enough and it makes sense to people that this is what we do. They've changed distances, but the events are the events and they don't have to change it. And it's endured for decades. Hyrox can't ride this train without eventually changing what the competition is. And if they do that forever, it can last for a while, but I don't think it can ever achieve the scope that triathlon does.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I hope it does.
We won't. I'm hopeful with this as well, but I don't know. Yes, like how lasting this is, right? Because I'm sure a lot of the let's just repeat triathletes, right? And like the people, you don't meet a ton of, I don't meet a ton of triathletes. You know, it's not like marathon participants or whatever, people who run 5Ks. Like you can meet a lot of those people. Triathlon's still pretty niche. It's not like that big.
Yeah, a lot of people are probably like, I'm not a good swimmer, or I don't have a bike, so I can't do it because I'm missing one of the 3 basic things. Here, it's like I can learn how to do. I'm only on the rower for 4 or 5 minutes. Like I can figure that out, and I'm strong. I'm a runner. Like I can do that. I feel like the barrier to entry is way lower.
I could buy that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And now that the I could foresee a lot of these CrossFit gyms right now. CrossFit gyms are still CrossFit that have like a Hyrox class a couple times a week. I could see that being flipped in a couple of years where like half of the CrossFit gyms are the majority training for Hyrox, having more endurance in their training with some strength because there's events to train for. And, you know, maybe it does kind of, and we talk about this before. Think about it a lot where a competitor comes in and this takes a different name, right? Maybe it's not called Hyrox in 15 years, but you train for fitness racing, hybrid racing, whatever it ends up, the general consensus like of understanding. And maybe that exists in this long, but Hyrox itself, that is probably a no, just because anything can happen to one company when there's no competition. But they're and I guess back BK in 2013, in 2014, what do you think you would say, you now observing OCR then, why that might not become triathlon?
Well, and I did say it then. It was that we didn't have equipment.
You said it wasn't bigger.
Yeah, that it couldn't last forever because we didn't have equipment. In order for a sport to be really, really popular among middle and upper middle or upper class, people have to be able to buy speed in the endurance side. That's really what it is. You have to be able to spend your money on something and get obsessed over it and then get the next model next year. That's part of what triathlon, their huge success is about, is that there's always a new wheel. There's always, do I go tubeless? Am I gluing my tires down? What are we doing here? Are we doing sewn in? There's always a new, better ease of entry tri shoe every year for the bike. There's new aero everything. There's power meter. Everything changes, and it's on a cycle where there's always new speed to be purchased. And the companies get behind it and they sponsor people like crazy. There's so much money to be spent in triathlon that people sponsor like crazy. But Concept 2 hasn't gotten on board with this, right? Because you don't need a new rower every year.
Yeah.
Assault Bike's not getting on board because they make their bikes to last a decade. You know, we don't have a sport where you can buy new speed every year or the allure of purchase better performance every year. Like your weights are going to last you almost your entire life.
Yeah.
Your kettlebells. Yeah. I don't think that the equipment that we need captures the attention and the obsession the way triathlons does. And I think that was always OCR's problem. Like, who do you get to sponsor it outside of nutrition?
But there's always a new shoe that comes out. Look at your wall behind you, Bracken. Like there's so many different types. And is triathlon benefiting financially because of the new bikes that come out? They're not creating new bikes. It's brands that come in and do that for them.
Right. They can bankroll them. They can bankroll the company.
And the shoe part really helps for this. It really does.
Because shoes, if you wear those frequently, you're not getting more than a few months out of them realistically.
That's one of the saving graces out of this. Yeah. But there aren't really any brands yet who are like, we're making this for you, where tri bikes are like, the tri rig setup is crazy expensive and there's no limit to how much money you can spend every year. So shoes would be helpful. Yes, I agree with that. Supplements, really good. The equipment, it's kind of buy it for life type equipment in our sport.
Yeah. That's interesting to that the companies that would be associated with a sport having an impact on the stay power. So maybe.
But the
So-
supplements, yes, people are always like, could I be getting more out of my life with a better pre-workout? The people we know who are pre-workout nutrition people, they're buying new stuff all the time. That is a potential boon for our industry.
But all right, we already mentioned him earlier. Like Nick Bear's coming in. You don't think that a bunch of people are going to see him do this event and be like, "I'm trying it now."
We
Like,
need
I'm
that,
gonna
yes.
I know that like we make fun of influencer marketing, but it does work to an extent, and I feel like that's going to get some new people in the door. And it's like all you have to do is sign up. You probably live in a major city because well over half the country lives in a major city. I think you're going to keep seeing registration, and we're also in an age where like strength it is like desirable, I guess, in that point where you're not just trying to be this skinny person. You're seeing you're encouraged to be strong, and especially with women, it seems these days. I think that you're going to see a lot more people do that.
I agree with you on these points. It's important also the training hours of our sport are big, and that helps capture that same audience. But the unspoken part, the allure of triathlon is that you can have a beer gut and be a monster biker because you're sitting on your butt the whole time. And you can have a dad bod and be a really strong swimmer. And at the end, everyone's hurting on the run. So like the vast majority of the sport is spent not touching the ground. And
I don't
that
think too
is
many guys with dad bods are like, man, I can't wait to do this 140-mile bike ride. Like,
yeah, they do. Have you? Yeah, cyclists love it. They love it. The cyclist is full of guys with guts and monster calves cranking out watts on their group rides. It's crazy. And so you can't get away with that in Hyrox and perform at the top of your age group, but you can in triathlon.
All right,
Just
that's
be
fair.
too fit for Hyrox.
That's fair. We'll see. You just love triathlon. You're just a homer.
I don't. I
You
think
do.
it's a dumb sport.
You love it.
the Olympics were good in triathlon.
I watch none.
It doesn't make any sense to combine the three disciplines at all. Swim run makes more sense to me than triathlon, but it doesn't change the fact that for whatever reason, triathlon captured a niche that has been going now for a long time.
What's better, swim, run, bear crawl? You don't like the You don't like the machinery? Crab walk?
Scooter? Should you use a scooter?
Why don't you like the bike? Because it's like
I don't think we need a third discipline. Like, how do humans move over ground?
crab walk.
I just run and swim is enough for me.
Run,
That's great.
swim,
Skip.
a little skip.
I think Norseman's the ultimate test. You crash in your boat, swim to land, or run up a mountain to safety. Great. Let's do that.
Carrying a rower.
And with a rower.
Run,
You
swim.
should carry your bike so that you can start biking when it's time to bike.
Though I was gonna say we're getting close to ruck, but we're not putting ruck in this.
Yeah, we have a little ruck pack with the bike in it disassembled.
No. And then or race walk. Run, swim, race walk.
That's just quarter row and race walk in the same. We've got it.
I don't think we need a third discipline.
I think you're wrong. I think it needs to be sled push. All right, that'll do it for us at Race Brain Podcast. BK, what do we got going on at TRP?
I don't know. We did Kirk was hunting, so we had a week apart. We survived it. So we eased back into things today with a Q&A. Good questions.
Good questions. What was your favorite question?
What was my favorite question on this one? We had a shoe question.
Oh, there we go. What was it?
What was your favorite non-shoe question?
Favorite non-shoe question?
Must have been memorable.
Kirk must just clear out for you when the shoes come, right? He just lobs it to you. You just like wind.
He actually got upset this time. He's like, "Can I just say that I know shoes too, guys? Like, I'm not just inept over here.
Yeah.
You don't have to always say this one's for Bracken."
So too bad.
Whenever we do the covers, I always lob Bracken out. What type of shoe would you do? And I re-listened to Seattle, and it was like four straight minutes. I didn't get a word in. Bracken was just like, "Oh yeah, this is my topic."
Jack's a
I
pro.
cut myself off too.
Jack's a pro there. We also did a Q&A over at RMR Training. Oh yeah.
Battle and Q&A. Whose Q&A was better, you think?
That's a great question.
Different audience.
I don't think we did have a shoe question. Disrespectful.
Was it a Q&A then?
Could it even be a Q&A? No one's asking about shoes. All right. Make sure you check out us over on socials, YouTube. We are on there. Our lights are looking great. Jack might get a light. We're not sure. He's got
Gotta
their
earn it.
order of operations that he has to follow before
Gotta
we can
download that basic
get
program that I
him
keep forgetting.
looking so great and beautiful over here.
Yep.
Jack, were you a Boy Scout?
No,
Oh, you just had the look of an Eagle Scout to me. I would have assumed.
I've never done any of that stuff. I go camping and everything, and I've taken survival classes. But
Did you do Ryan McGuire's class?
I did. Oh, that was so fun. Yeah,
Was it
shout
good?
out Ryan McGuire. Yeah, I talked with VJ this past week. I actually went on a run with VJ. He's flying these days.
Nice.
No, he's at like 9:30 pace for 4 miles. We weren't.
Dude, he would be the GOAT at speed golf.
That. Trust me, we talked about that. But there's like a really, really good former collegiate runner who's out there who's like taking down the former GOAT. So he's like,
really?
man,
Like
I gotta
young
like
guy?
really get my running back if I'm gonna beat this guy.
We had Eric Burns on like during COVID, and he went after. I think he set the 24-hour mark.
Bracken, don't you remember who got you that interview?
Was that you, Rich?
No,
Did I
it
ever
was
think
me.
you, Rich?
It was me. Yeah,
I got you, dude.
yeah.
All right, that'll wrap us up. We'll talk to you soon.